Hi everyone. Welcome. So happy that you are here. I'm Rachel Steinman. I am your facilitator and the host for the shift sessions, and we are going to discuss friendship as a wellness practice. And I'm so happy you are here. I'm so glad to be here. And again, I'm just going to give it a few more seconds to allow some more friends to join us. But while I am waiting for some friends to join, if you wanted to grab some paper and a pen to take some notes, if that's how you like to take notes, it's not necessary to take notes. Maybe you just want to jot some ideas down, or maybe you want to jot ideas on your phone or your computer, whatever works for you. But it might be a good time for you to do that. And while we're waiting for a few more friends to join us, maybe you can drop in the chat where you are. Where are you joining us from? And if you really want to make it more interesting, maybe tell us how you're feeling right now. So I'm currently joining you from Studio City, California, which is in LA County. Okay. All right. So I am going to give you a brief introduction to who I am and why I'm doing this. So I am, like I said, live in Los Angeles, born and raised in Los Angeles. I went to UC Santa Barbara for undergrad, where I got my bachelor's in psychology, was very interested in developmental psychology, and then I went on to get my teaching credential at UCLA, and I got my master's in education, and I taught elementary school kids, and I've taught K through 6. I've been the school librarian. After I had my daughters, I became a mental health advocate when I discovered an unfinished manuscript that my grandfather had started. And I talk a lot about that in my podcast and in my blogs, but it really led me down a path to become a mental health educator because I wanted to cut generational trauma after learning about my family's history with lots of mental health issues, and just wanted to make it known that it was okay to talk about these things. And that was partly why I also began volunteering and becoming the lead presenter for NAMI, National Alliance on Mental Illness, going into middle schools and high schools and talking about this program called Ending the Silence, because I really believed in the idea of talking about mental health and mental wellness and prioritizing our mental health. And I speak to not only students, but I speak to parents and teachers and staff, and I just absolutely love connecting with young people. And I also call myself a friendship ambassador, and that's a new title that I have given myself because I really believe in the power of friendship on our wellness. And I actually wrote a book with my best friend called Stay Golden Girls, Friendship is the New Marriage. And I believe Rachel Winter is on this as, if you see Stay Forever Gold, yep, there she is, she joined. So I'm really happy to have her here. So it was this was kind of combining a lot of my worlds: education, wellness, and the idea of promoting friendship and writing and all of those things. So I was very, very happy to be here and asked to be here to discuss friendship as a wellness practice and how we can shift our perspectives and really look at it as an important wellness idea. So this is a really great time for us to take a pause and just check in to see where we are mentally and emotionally. And as we will discuss also relationally, and I know it sounds like a funny word, but there is this whole new concept called relational health, and we're going to talk about that. But we're all in different places, but what we need to understand is that we can connect, and we're here together to shift our perspectives. And so again, I'm so happy that you are here. Today will be between like a 35 to 40 minute session on friendship, and I can stay on at the end to answer any questions if you have them. But I also want to say none of this is to replace medical advice. I'm just here to share some of the tools that I've come to learn that I use when I want to shift. And it's a chance for you to try a few exercises on and see how you can start practicing them on your own whenever it's helpful to you. So you don't need to do anything except just be present and be here. And again, thank you for being here. So right now, I want you to think of what would shift in your life if you treated friendship the same way that you treat things that are important to you for your health: exercise, maybe eating healthy, meditating, getting good sleep, those types of things. What if we prioritized friendship and we actively looked at it as a practice? How would our life get better? Would we be happier? Would our moods improve? I have a feeling you know my answer, and it is yes, life would improve. So the key idea here is that friendship, it's like a muscle, and the more you use it, the stronger it gets. You've probably heard, to have a friend, you have to be a friend. It's true. It's a muscle that we have to use, and there are so many incredible benefits that come from friendship. It can be better moods, decreased stress, tons of health benefits, which we'll talk about later, not just physical and mental health, but relational health. You'll feel more fulfilled, you'll feel more purposeful, happier, have more reasons to celebrate, find more connections. So as you can see, so many reasons and so many benefits to celebrate friendship. Now, why does friendship matter for mental health? We are in a time that is considered by some a loneliness epidemic or a friendship recession. And there's this amazing study that I talk about a lot that you may have already heard about. It's this Harvard study that lasted for 85 years to study happiness and health and longevity. So this Harvard study looked at the lives of many individuals for over 85 years, and it included their spouses. It included, I think, like 1,300 of their descendants. And the research revealed a really profound truth about what makes a good life. It's relationships, and it's not just any relationships, it's good relationships, right? So it's not money, it's not fame, it's not your social class, it's not your IQ, it's not your genes. What predicts longevity and happiness are good relationships. They just keep us healthier and happier. So, and why? They help protect us from life's discontents, and they delay mental and physical decline, and really they are predictors of good health. That's why I truly believe in the benefits of friendship. So there isn't a magic number for how many friends you need or you should have, but research definitely suggests that having between 3 and 5 close friends, it's often associated with really high levels of life satisfaction. So you don't need a ton of friends. In fact, maybe your cousin's one of your best friends or your sister's one of your best friends. The quality of the friendship matters more than the quantity. So having a few deep, very meaningful connections is often better than a large number of superficial ones. And we know, we're talking about this loneliness epidemic. The U.S. Surgeon General, Dr. Vivek Murthy, and I'm probably pronouncing his name wrong, he's declared that loneliness is a public health epidemic. And he's emphasizing its profound impact on individual and societal well-being. He has called for a national effort. This is the Surgeon General, the top doctor. He's called for a national effort to rebuild social connections. So many people are missing these connections in their lives, and he's highlighting the need for strong relationships and community engagement. You know, community is so beyond important, we forget how much we need each other. And he warns that loneliness, it's as harmful as smoking 13 to 15 cigarettes a day. Hard to believe, but very true. And so when people are getting together and they're seeing one another and they're being in community, it's really helping their health. And we know that what's the antidote to loneliness? Friendship. We've existed as humans in tribes, and we need each other to evolve. It's just how it has been, to protect each other. And we know that loneliness is incredibly detrimental to our health. And we talked about not just mental health, but physical health. It's associated with increased risk of heart disease and depression and cognitive decline. So here we are now. We're going to talk about that saying I was talking about, relational health. It's a new term, right? We've heard physical health. We're now talking more about mental health. Now let's talk about relational health. It's, again, a term I'm hearing more and more, and I really like this term, and it refers to the quality of our connections and our interactions. So that means safe, stable, nurturing relationships. If they're healthy, then we've got good relational health. And this type of health is about having the capacity to develop and maintain and receive support from relationships while also being social. So having supportive, nurturing, and reciprocal relationships, and again, reciprocal, you can't just always give it. The other person has to give back to you. It helps us feel safe and seen and valued. So just like physical health or mental health, relational health is something we can build, something we can protect, something we should work towards. And when our relational health is strong, it makes us more resilient. It boosts our mood. It regulates our stress. It literally acts to protect our biology. But when it's weak, when we are isolated, when we feel disconnected, when we're in toxic relationships, and we're talking even about toxic friendships, our risk for anxiety and depression and physical illness rises. So why does this matter? When we recognize that relational health is worth validating and putting time in, it's not frivolous. It's really more than just us thinking, oh, I don't have time for that. I have to take care of these other things. No, it actually prevents you from getting sick. So friendship equals resilience, stress reduction, and a longer life. How great is that, right? Our friends are really something to celebrate. So here's a little mini reflection I want you to think about. On a scale of 1 to 10, how would you rate your relational health right now? Let's think about how we can improve that number, okay? And move it up a notch. So we know that relationships just get better and grow stronger when we show up for one another. It's simple fact, but it's true. It takes time to cultivate connections. So we have to make space for regular connection. So that can be a quick check-in, or it might be a dedicated time together. But it can be anything, right? It can be a text, it can be a call, it can be something totally spontaneous, dropping by a friend's house, or scheduling something. Sometimes maybe you have to do it far in advance. But it is time. And I love the idea of the monthly or the bi-weekly planned event. I think I might have a friend or two on here from my new Mahjong group. And I just love that now I know I have something to look forward to once or twice a month. Right now we're doing it twice a month. We'll see how it goes. But it's so important to have these things to look forward to. So what I would like you to do, because we're talking about shifting, here's a mindset shift. I make time for what nourishes me. And what nourishes me are my relationships. So right now, I would like you to think about a friend that you could be more present for. Who is in your mind? Who is that person? And think about, when was the last time you gave her or him your full attention? Think about how they like to receive that care and attention. Some people, like to maybe sit side by side at a sporting event. Maybe some people like to sit face to face and hold hands. Maybe some people like to talk and be really open and deep. Some people just like to just go out and exercise and have fun. What is it? How can you give them care, right? So that they like to receive it and will be open. And now also, I want you to think of what's a small action you can do to nourish your friendship. So we're going to talk about some of those actions in case you need some ideas. But before we do that, I want to talk about this really fun concept that more and more younger people are using, and I love it. I wish I had known this earlier, but it's called platonic romance. What a fun word, right? We know what romance is, but do you know what platonic romance is? Well, it's really about looking at your friend almost as a soulmate and celebrating them as you would a life partner, with all of the things that we would love to do. And that's really how Galentine's Day came about, right? It's the day before Valentine's Day, but it's women celebrating other women. But honestly, Rachel, who's on here, and we joke there should be a guy's one called Palentine's Day, maybe the day after Valentine's, where it doesn't matter. It doesn't have to be gender, but it's us celebrating our friends. And curious if you think that a friend can be a soulmate. I personally do, and I feel very lucky to have a few very, very close friends that I look at as soulmates. But let's define platonic romance. It's intentional, and it's creative gestures. And let's think about that. We don't only have to orbit our life around romantic and familial relationships. We should and we can prioritize our friends. So let's think of some fun date nights, right? That are maybe low cost, high meaning ideas. It doesn't have to be extravagant. I'm going to just give you 5, but if you have some, maybe throw them in the chat and we can discuss those later. Maybe it's a library date where you meet at the library and pick a book out for each other. Maybe it's a flower arranging night where you guys come with an inexpensive bouquet from Trader Joe's and share the flowers and make something. Maybe you volunteer together. Maybe it's a poker night. Maybe it's a poker night and a playlist night where you change, everybody gets a turn making a playlist. Maybe it's a DIY spa night. Who knows what it is, but it's almost looking at it as a date. And I want you to be specific when you think about this. And I'm going to give you one of my specific ideas that I do with my girlfriends, which is just, something we look forward to and so easy. When we can't think of something, it's just like, this is what we're going to do. We are Valley girls. We grew up here in the Valley. Here, I don't know where you are. Sherman Oaks, to be specific, or the San Fernando Valley, there's a restaurant called Stanley's. We love going there. We love getting their Chinese chicken salads. We often get it with the sourdough bread and glasses of Sauvignon Blanc. And if we're really in the mood, we'll get the ice cream and chocolate chip cookie pie. And if we really have time and want to make the date even longer, we'll maybe go get foot massages at Foot Inspiration. I mean, what a great date. So much fun to do with our friends. So that's truly feels like a date. And after that night and spending time together and laughing, it feels like therapy and medicine rolled into one. It's just so great. So I want you to think of specific actionable ideas that you can do with your friends. Now, let's talk about growing friendships, new friendships, making friendships stronger, right? Right now, also, you don't have to think of exact people, but maybe try to think of 2 or 3 friends that you would like to have friendships that get deeper or grow, or somebody you would like to turn to that is new. And maybe go ahead, jot those names down just to remind yourself, or just, keep it in your head. But what I have been hearing more and more when I do events is people coming up to me and coming up to Rachel and asking, and by the way, we're called the Rachels, which is kind of hilarious, asking us, how do you make friends? Because it can be hard to make new friends, especially as an adult. When you're younger, it's a little bit easier to make new friends, potentially, right? When you're in school, you've got that time, you've got the dedicated lunch hour, you're with each other all day. When you're in college, you're living in close proximity, right? As you get older, it's harder to carve that time out. And maybe you've got more responsibilities. There was just an article about how a lot of married men, once the kids go off to college, they realize they've lost their friends because the wives have made all of the plans. And I know that, again, this is generalizing, but it can be hard to make new friends. So what can we do to connect? Here are a few ideas. This sounds obvious, but join a new club or an organization, take a class, volunteer, play a sport, join a game club. There's all these like game clubs now popping up all over Los Angeles, which I love. Go on join a running group. There's a running group on the corner of my house every week that meets, and I see all these young, really great looking people meeting together, and they're maybe not only looking for friends, maybe they're looking for something else, but they're exercising together. And, just get involved in something that introduces you to new people. Maybe it's your church or your temple or your mosque or what have you. Choose something that meets regularly, and it's a place where your future friends can get to know you, right? And you can get to know them. Here's another one. Take the initiative. Don't wait for a potential friend to reach out. Think of the new relationship as an exciting opportunity. So if you find yourself like in line at Starbucks or something and somebody has a cute purse or who knows, you like their shoes, give a compliment, strike up a conversation. I have a husband who is so outgoing. He literally will talk to everyone and he could make friends everywhere. Not everyone does that. And it can feel a little bit vulnerable, but just start talking to people. Compliments are great openings. And we call this platonic flirting, and it can be sometimes uncomfortable, sometimes it can be really natural. But just like when you were dating, or if you're dating, it takes some vulnerability. The same thing is true with friendship. But obviously, it can be really wonderful and really fruitful. So open up those conversations. Here's another one. Be friendly. It sounds really obvious, but smile. Like I said, give compliments, ask questions, volunteer to do your friend a favor without any expectation or something in return. Kindness almost always, not always, but almost always comes back in beautiful ways. So again, smile, be kind, give compliments, ask questions. Those things are contagious. Now, I realize this is somewhat ironic. I'm talking about friendships and the idea of being face-to-face, but turn to digital tools to begin with. Maybe you make a new friend on a neighborhood chat site, like, don't buy nothing at Toluca Lake, which is what I'm on, or your next door neighbor site. Or maybe there's actually friend apps out there called Bumble BFF. There's one called there's Meetup, of course, and then there's Hey Vina. And then I just learned about this one. It's called Time Left, where every Wednesday, strangers in over 275 cities get together at a restaurant. So whatever city you're living in, every Wednesday they meet at this restaurant and get together. So you just never know. And obviously, after you connect with somebody online, listen to your intuition. Maybe you need to do a little background check. If you feel comfortable meeting this person, meet them face to face. And then here's a great one. Expand your circle with friends of friends. I cannot tell you how many amazing friends I have met through friends, or my friends have met through me. For example, we have friends who are a couple, and we've introduced them to another friend couple, and they've gone to Vegas together without me and my husband, and I'm thrilled about it because I don't really love to gamble, and I'm really happy they've gotten close. So, you just don't know how you can expand your circle. So yes, maybe have a dinner party and invite your 3 close friends and say, I want you to bring one of your friends that I don't know to my party, and then your group grows. So great great way. And then, of course, you have to stay in touch. It's obvious. A lot of these things are very obvious, but you have to call, text your new friend, ask, when can we get back together again? And maybe better yet, before you leave, schedule something in your calendar before. And if you're really busy and your schedule doesn't permit frequent get-togethers, keep checking in. You just don't know when things will pop up. Some people really love the spontaneity and don't like to plan ahead. So you just fill that out. But you have to put in the time and you have to be patient, right? Because old friends, they've spent hours developing, countless hours sometimes, developing and understanding what makes each other tick. So, those inside jokes, they don't just magically appear. Deep friendship bonds, they don't form immediately overnight. They take time. And sometimes, you just know that this person is going to be one that you're going to be really close with. And then you want to spend a lot of time and it goes really quick. Now, this is one I love to talk about. It sounds really counterintuitive, but ask a friend for help. Ask a friend for a favor. When we reach out and we ask somebody for help, we're showing our vulnerability and our need for other people. And doing so will bring you closer because it invites that person to feel safe. It invites them to feel comfortable to ask you down the road. So it's not a sign of weakness when you ask for help. This is what I talk about on my mental health talks with students. If you need help, ask for it. It's really important. And a little side note, as women, sometimes we're so good at nurturing, giving, and we don't feel comfortable asking. But please ask your friend for help. And like I said, it shows trust and faith in them. And so much of a successful friendship is simply about being there. It could be really big needs or really small needs, but any kind of attentiveness is required, right? It just is. Otherwise, you're not really being a sincere friend. So we have to be willing to be open and accept criticism and feedback and pay attention, right? Sometimes we have to have difficult conversations with friends. When that happens, just remain calm, remain kind, and in any relationship, it doesn't matter if it's your family, your spouse, it doesn't matter who, communication is key, right? And when we get defensive about something, that just ends communication. And I'm going to give you a personal example. One of my very close friends reached out to me last year and said, I cannot believe that you wrote a book about friendship and you're going and talking to all these people about friends and you literally have not been a good friend to me. My mom's really sick and you haven't checked in on me. And I thanked her. I said, I'm so grateful that you told me, that you didn't keep this in. And I wasn't defensive at all. I immediately realized I need to step up. I have been maybe just caught up in my own world, and I made an effort to check on her and to do what I could to help her. And so she was grateful that I wasn't mad or defensive. And it just, again, that was communication. So ultimately, it makes you stronger when you're able to have those kinds of conversations. All right. We're going to move on to the last section of this talk where we just talk about friendship practices. And I'm just going to run through 10 of them right now. The first one, regularly check in with a friend. When a friend goes silent, check on them. I cannot tell you how many friends I have that might have been struggling with something in their life. Maybe it's depression or something else. And I don't play that tit for tat. Oh, they didn't call me back, or, they didn't give me a text back, or I will reach out. I will bug them. And then they will come back and say, thank you. It meant a lot that you didn't forget about me. And neuroscience literally shows us that when we do get to speak to our friend and we share our troubles, it raises our oxytocin and it lowers our cortisol for both the listener and the speaker. So commiserating with our friends, it's like medicine. It's like therapy rolled into one. So talking to our friends literally helps us regulate our nervous system. And we can offer words of support very easily. I'm here for you. You're not alone. How can I help you? Do you feel like talking? Sometimes they just don't even want to hear you talk. They just want you to listen. So remind yourself to check on a friend. And the benefit is that it really reduces a feeling of isolation and it builds a sense of belonging. All right, number 2, share gratitude. And not just, and do it out loud, right? Express yourself. Talk about how grateful you are to have a friend in your life. Maybe it's over a text. Maybe it's over the phone. Maybe it's in person, right? Maybe it's an amazing platonic love letter that is a rhyming poem that you turn to ChatGPT to help you write, whatever. But tell them, and it's gonna come back to you. Another thing is physical connection. It's really helpful. We have a friend, Rachel and I, her name's Kim, who is very physical. Every time she's with us, she grabs our hands, she gives our hands a massage, she rubs our shoulders, she's like hugging all the time. That's how she likes to be, and it's wonderful, and it's so funny. Eye contact, all of those things, that's who she is. It's doesn't make everyone comfortable. There's like the old joke about how like men, when they're with each other, they're side to side doing sports activities or watching sports, or women, when we get together, we're face to face. And again, I'm generalizing, but it's what makes you comfortable, right? And you're able to share that gratitude and be honest with each other. And again, talking about boosting oxytocin, it really does when you are connecting like that. And there's a really fun fact from Gretchen Rubin, who wrote The Happiness Project. And she says true intimacy, it's shared when a hug lasts 8 seconds or longer. So if you can hug your friend for 8 seconds, you'll find that intimacy. So tell someone you appreciate them, be really specific, and you'll know that it boosts their mood and your mood, and it will strengthen your bonds. Okay, here's one I love to talk about: rituals. Create shared rituals. Traditions, right? Maybe it's an annual girls trip or an annual guys trip or what have you. It could be girls and guys. It can be a holiday, an annual holiday. It could be, once a month somebody picks a recipe from a cookbook, and whatever it is, it's a ritual. And one of my favorite rituals is Friendsgiving. It happens the day before Thanksgiving. We were doing it before there was even a term, Friendsgiving, right when we graduated college almost 3 decades ago. We've been doing it every year since. It's probably the most consistent thing I have done with my friends. These are groups of girls and guys, women, men, whatever, and we look forward to it every year, and it just gets more and more fun. And we don't let our kids join us because that would change the whole thing. We do that with a different ritual, but we're joining, we have rituals. And I have to say, I really believe in this so much that I am often the person to say, like, okay, I don't care that my house is messy or what have you. I want to have people over, because I just find it so important to have these rituals. So it's not, and by the way, the power of the ritual, it's not even necessarily the actual thing. It's often the anticipation and of the emails and the group chats that come before it that make it so much fun, or after it, right? And I cannot tell you how many great, funny group chat names there are with friends. So if you have any that you'd like to share, please feel free to throw those in the chat. I love hearing the different names of friend group chats. But basically, try to have maybe a bi-monthly or a monthly or an annual plan to create a ritual. Figure something out that's really fun for you guys. It can be really easy, like I said, like a cookbook type of thing, or it can be really extravagant, like a summer getaway. And there can be tricky elements like who plans and who pays for what and what have you. Those are sometimes part of the things of figuring out who is who, right? And how your group works. But it's always worth it. And it will build something positive to look forward to, a consistency. And it's part of like what that Harvard study talks about, the longevity. And okay, number 4, practice active listening. Know your friend well. Take interest in their interest. Be curious about them. Listen. Maybe what is happening at their work is really boring to you, but asking them questions the next day, how did it go? It means a lot to them. Your friend sees you order an iced vanilla latte with almond milk, my order, and then, for example, Rachel will show up at my door with that after knowing what it is. That means a lot. She paid attention, right? So it makes a lot of sense. We just have to actively listen to our friends. And when a friend shares something, pause before responding. Maybe paraphrase what they've said and ask a follow-up question. It will deepen your trust and validate their feelings. So just incredibly important, that empathy and listening. Number 5, do small acts of kindness. Call, text, say, I was just thinking of you. Or even better yet, when you see something that reminds you of them, maybe you see their favorite chocolate somewhere and you purchase it, and the next time you see them, you give it to them. It's really meaningful. A little can go a long way. So mail a postcard, I don't know, something small, any act of kindness, it really goes a long way. And we, on the other side, get this, it activates like a helper's high. So it nurtures that mutual care. Number 6, move together, walk, hike, stretch, dance, run, you name it, right? Just move your bodies together. Maybe, somebody is on the East Coast, you're on the West Coast, and you put in your headphones and you go on a walk and have conversation. That's amazing, right? The benefit is that it reduces stress, you're connecting, and it's lifting your mood. Number 7, laughter. Share laughter. Watch a funny movie, go to a comedy store, share a funny story, send a silly meme, reminisce about a funny story that you shared together. We know that laughter releases endorphins, and it's like one of the best ways to connect people. And it really bonds people quickly, right? And so laughter and friendship, they're great, great, great medicine. Number 8, celebrate small and big wins. Maybe it's Galentine's Day. We love Galentine's Day. Maybe it's a birthday. Maybe it's an actual holiday, like a national holiday or a religious holiday, or maybe it's a silly made-up holiday like National Margarita Day. Whatever it is, celebrate. Friends just make life better. I mean, why not have a celebration every day? Who says we can't, right? So acknowledge each other's achievements. It means so much. And I will say, sometimes maybe on the flip side, I have a friend who just lost their dog that they had for 14 years. I made sure to call them. I made sure to see that they're okay, right? Be there for them. That means a lot too on the reverse. Number 9, boundaries and support. We have to respect boundaries. Sometimes friends don't want you to therapize. They don't want you to offer all your, advice. They just want you to listen. Maybe sometimes you do something wrong, like I did with my girlfriend who called me out. It's just important to understand that with friendship, we need to have the honesty talks, and we need to find boundaries. Be open about your needs and responsive to theirs. And the benefit when you kind of understand your friend's boundaries is that your mutual trust will just be boosted. And then the last one is kind of ironic. It's disconnecting to connect. I realize the irony of that as we're doing a live right now, but put your phones away and give each other full attention. Try to get together face to face, and your connections will deepen. So my key takeaway is that friendship, it's not frivolous. It's actually essential for our mental health. And when we're mindful and we're present and we meet with each other with true intention, it's just like magic. So I hope that you can maybe find something that we discussed today and practice it. And if you want to tag me, that would be great. Or you can tag the shift. I'm going to stay after and take some questions. But I want to just say, I want to thank Mo Isern and Nadia Sarmova for inviting me to lead this shift session. And I want to thank you for joining today. Please feel free to follow me on Instagram. I'm right now Rachel with a W, or that's my mental health advocacy. My friendship side is Stay Forever Gold. That's 4 with the number. Stay Forever Gold. Our book, you can find Stay Golden Girls, Friendship is the New Marriage, is on Amazon, and it's on Etsy, and in, I think we're up to about 50 boutiques across the country. And my podcast, Dear Family, which now I realize should maybe have been called Dear Family and Friends, is on all the podcast platforms. And I really encourage you to tune in next week for a new session at theshift.com official with Carmen Scott. She's going to be leading the art of play. So thank you for hanging out with me, and cheers to friendship. And let me see, I see that we have a question. Okay, from Lauren. How can I tell a friend that she's been really lacking in self-awareness? I see her 2-3 times a year, and she talks about herself the entire time and never asks me about anything about myself. Oh, wow, Lauren, that's a really good question. That's a hard one, right? Because it doesn't feel reciprocal. And, I don't even know if I have the full right answer to that, but I would just say, if you felt comfortable enough, just maybe broaching that conversation and just be like in a joking kind of funny way, like, oh my God, you're so funny. You're always, have you asked me a question or something like that? That's a tough one. And that can feel like, again, it's not, when that happens, when somebody's not really listening to you, it can feel lopsided. So, maybe you approach it with a little humor, or maybe you actually approach it very honestly and just say, like, I just wanted to tell you this as a friend because I really care about you, and similar to how my friend did. And, sometimes this makes me feel bad, and I love you so much, and I'm just trying to help you with future friendships. So maybe, I am a big believer in honesty being the best policy, especially if you want to deepen that friendship. So I don't know. I hope that helped. All right, everybody. I want to thank you so much for joining, and I hope that you have a wonderful evening. If you're watching this at another time, just a wonderful day. And again, prioritize your friendships. Take care. Bye.